Welcome to Wellness and Mindfulness Digest 2026-06-18. Today's 12 stories. Story 1, 8 restorative yoga poses to calm you down in minutes. Story 2, a 12-minute meditation to make movement mindful with Cara Bradley. Story 3, 10-minute gentle morning yoga to stretch your whole body. Story 4, boat pose is the ultimate core strengthening exercise. Here's how to do it. Story 5, the rise of nervous system regulation, what you need to know. Story 6, International Yoga Day. Can just 20 minutes of yoga a day improve your health? Story 7, International Yoga Day. Why yoga is more relevant than ever. Story 8, Somatic breathwork for rest and nervous system regulation. Story 9, a different kind of Father's Day, nurturing mindfulness and care in the garden. Story 10, Flourish Yoga, 2026 complete guide to practice and health. Story 11, Ashtanga Yoga, complete beginner's guide, benefits and poses, 2026. Story 12, no matter how I teach, it's not yoga for someone. Story 1, 8 restorative yoga poses to calm you down in minutes. Flourish Yoga is a concept gaining traction in 2026 as a philosophy-driven alternative to performance-oriented yoga culture. Published by Yogalith, this comprehensive guide introduces Flourish Yoga not as a branded system like Ashtanga or Bikram, but as an overarching approach that asks practitioners to prioritize sustainable well-being over Instagram-worthy poses or flexibility milestones. The guide grounds its claims in legitimate research, pointing to data from the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health showing that over 36 million Americans now practice yoga regularly. That is a remarkable number, and it continues to grow. A 2021 analysis in the International Journal of Yoga found that regular practice produces measurable improvements in cardiovascular health, stress hormone levels, and sleep quality across diverse adult populations. That is not a small finding. That is clinical evidence that yoga, when practiced consistently, functions as a genuine health intervention. What makes the Flourish philosophy distinct is its insistence on adaptability. On a high-energy day, a vigorous vinyasa session qualifies. On a difficult day, 10 minutes of restorative yoga on the floor with a bolster counts just as much. This is a meaningful departure from the achievement-driven framing that dominates much of the wellness social media landscape. The implications are real. If yoga continues to be repositioned as a long-term health tool rather than a performance discipline, it becomes significantly easier to integrate into clinical settings, rehabilitation programs, and insurance-covered wellness plans. For studios and instructors, adopting accessible and philosophy-centered branding could prove more durable than chasing trends. For everyday practitioners, the message is simple and refreshing. Your practice does not have to look good. It just has to work for you where you are right now. Story 2, a 12-minute meditation to make movement mindful with Cara Bradley. Ashtanga yoga is one of the most structured and disciplined traditions in the yoga world, and in 2026, Nirvana Yoga School India has published a comprehensive beginner's guide that bridges this classical system with the language of modern science. The guide covers the foundational sequence of Ashtanga, its core poses, and notably, its evidence-based health benefits, with particular attention to cortisol reduction and parasympathetic nervous system activation. These are not minor details. Cortisol is the body's primary stress hormone, and elevated cortisol over long periods is associated with cardiovascular disease, immune suppression, and metabolic dysfunction. The fact that Ashtanga yoga has been shown to reduce cortisol levels places it in a meaningful category of evidence-supported interventions, not just wellness trends. The parasympathetic nervous system connection is equally significant. Ashtanga's signature Ujjayi breathing technique, characterized by a slow, controlled breath with a slight constriction at the back of the throat, has been studied as a direct activator of the vagus nerve, which is the primary pathway for parasympathetic response. In plain language, it helps the body shift from a stress state into a rest and recovery state. What is particularly interesting about this guide is its audience, beginners. Ashtanga has historically been considered a more advanced practice, demanding both physical strength and the willingness to commit to a fixed sequence over years. By targeting newcomers and framing the practice in accessible, science-informed terms, Nirvana Yoga School India is participating in a global movement to democratize classical yoga while retaining its traditional authority. Whether that balance is achievable is a genuine question, but the direction of travel is clear. Yoga education in 2026 is increasingly multilingual, speaking tradition and biomedicine in the same breath. Story 3. 10-minute gentle morning yoga to stretch your whole body. Yoga Journal published a striking essay on June 17, 2026, that cuts to the heart of one of the most uncomfortable truths in the modern yoga world. No matter how you teach it, someone will tell you it is not yoga. The piece follows a traveling teacher with 2 decades of instruction experience and 3 decades of personal practice through a series of classes in different cities, each taught with a different approach. In the first city, he leads a strong, contemporary class with challenging poses, arm balances, and inversions. After class, a student tells him this is not yoga. It is performance and athleticism. In the next city, he pivots completely. He teaches a slow, spacious session, 30 minutes of breathwork, 30 minutes of self-led movement, 30 minutes of savasana. Students demand refunds. They call it a hippie relaxation session with some improv dance in the middle. In the third city, he goes back to the philosophical roots. He brings out a harmonium, leads chanting, and shares contemporary interpretations of ancient yogic texts on suffering, attachment, and dharma. Many students are moved to tears. One is moved to outrage. He tells the teacher that as a non-Indian person, he has no right to teach any of this, cultural theft. The teacher apologizes and spends a sleepless night reconsidering everything. This parable is not just a clever narrative device. It captures something real and painful about the state of yoga in 2026. The practice has expanded so rapidly, absorbed so many different cultural expectations and commercial pressures, that the word yoga now means genuinely incompatible things to different people. Athletic therapy, meditative stillness, philosophical tradition, Western wellness product. Each of these is a legitimate lineage. Each generates its own gatekeepers. And any teacher operating in this landscape faces a nearly impossible task. Be authentic without being exclusive, be accessible without being superficial, honor tradition without appropriating it. The essay offers no resolution, but it names the problem with rare honesty, and that alone makes it worth reading. Story 4, Boat Pose is the ultimate core strengthening exercise. Here's how to do it. Yoga Journal provides a detailed breakdown of boat pose, Navasana, explaining its mechanics, benefits, and variations for core strengthening. The guide emphasizes proper alignment and breath engagement, making it both effective and safe. Core strength through yoga is also linked to postural health and nervous system stability. Story 5, The Rise of Nervous System Regulation, What You Need to Know. This article explores the growing mainstream interest in nervous system regulation, covering breathwork, vagal tone, and somatic practices as key tools for managing stress. It explains how the breath acts as a direct communication channel between body and brain, making breathwork one of the fastest regulation tools available. The piece is grounded, accessible, and relevant to both beginners and practitioners. Story 6, International Yoga Day. Can just 20 minutes of yoga a day improve your health? This piece examines research-backed evidence for the health benefits of a daily 20-minute yoga practice, including improvements in heart health, flexibility, sleep quality, and stress reduction. It connects short, consistent practice with measurable well-being outcomes accessible to busy individuals. The article is framed around International Yoga Day 2026 and draws on health research. Story 7, International Yoga Day, Why Yoga is More Relevant Than Ever. This article reviews current research showing yoga's benefits for stress reduction, mood improvement, emotional regulation, and resilience, especially for individuals in recovery contexts. It argues that yoga's holistic approach makes it increasingly relevant in a high-stress modern world. The tone is grounded and evidence-referencing without making unverified claims. Story 8, Somatic Breathwork for Rest and Nervous System Regulation. A trauma-informed somatic breathwork session on Insight Timer designed to support nervous system safety, emotional regulation, and felt sense body connection. The practice uses slow breathwork combined with micro-movements to promote deep rest. It is an accessible, guided resource suited for anxiety relief and sleep preparation. Story 9, A Different Kind of Father's Day, Nurturing Mindfulness and Care in the Garden. Writer Lisa Ruggiero explores how gardening can serve as a mindfulness practice, cultivating patience, attention, and emotional connection, qualities relevant to caregiving and inner peace. The piece offers a non-dogmatic, nature-based perspective on mindful living tied to a seasonal moment. It gently expands the definition of mindfulness beyond formal sitting practice. Story 10, Flourish Yoga, 2026 Complete Guide to Practice and Health. A comprehensive 2026 guide to building a flourishing yoga practice, citing a study from complementary therapies in medicine showing 8 weeks of yoga produces measurable anxiety reductions. It covers physical and mental benefits, practice styles, and how to structure a sustainable routine. The content is research-referenced and practically oriented. Story 11, Ashtanga Yoga, Complete Beginner's Guide, Benefits and Poses 2026. This detailed beginner's guide to Ashtanga Yoga covers its structured sequence, core poses, and research-backed benefits including cortisol reduction and parasympathetic nervous system activation. It provides foundational knowledge for those new to a disciplined yoga style. The guide is grounded in tradition while referencing modern stress physiology. Story 12, No matter how I teach, it's not yoga for someone. A reflective teacher perspective piece in Yoga Journal exploring the contested definitions of authentic yoga and how teachers navigate diverse student expectations and traditions. It raises thoughtful questions about inclusivity, cultural identity, and pedagogical flexibility in modern yoga. The article is valuable for practitioners and teachers interested in the evolving nature of yoga as a practice.